My name is Jeffrey Cardinell, and I'm going to be going over my paper, my multi-genre research paper that I did. And for my visual, I'm using a PowerPoint. The text that I used was the short story "The Story of an Hour" by Kate Chopin and the poem "Mad Girl's Love Song" by Sylvia Plath. I chose these texts because they have similar themes. In both, I've seen a woman who is trapped by love, and they've driven themselves mad because of it. And I was going through the different ones that we were able to use, and I just really felt like I could use those two the best, and was able to understand those fully and make a good connection between both of them. Uh, the way I went about choosing those is, like I said, I just started with what we could use and which ones I could relate with, and kind of draw conclusions of both of them and relate both of them together. Both of those I feel like had a underlying theme and message, and I was able to use both of those and compare them together pretty well and just make a good point of why those two are similar and things along those lines. To start it, I gathered up the theme that I would use for both of them, and then the list of similarities that I could use, and then I just try to find what the author used for both of them, like which both authors used, and the things that were similar, and just started going with a list from there. For the research, I just used the definitions of what the authors used to express the theme, and then I used a medical article about mental health and marriages, because that's kind of where it goes off with, is the characters went mad, and it has to do with mental health, and it's mainly based off of their love and within their marriages. I use the definitions just to show the thought process that the authors would use to express the theme in the texts, and the medical article just to kind of back up why I thought they had went mad and where I was going with that. To plan the paper, I just kind of jotted down a list. I didn't really use an outline or anything. I just did a list and kind of wrote like a few sentences about what I wanted each paragraph to be and just went from there. Um, I learned a few things just going back on trying to figure out exactly what the authors would use for literary devices and things like that, uh, and then just reading the mental health article, kind of explaining the mental side of things in a marriage and what goes on to it, and what could come of it if it's not good or if it's bad on the person or things like that. And the only thing I would change is like what type of paper I would want to do. I'd want to do like more relate to real life experiences, not something that's just that was like a made up story, which those things could happen or somewhat could be real, but it's not like based off of a real person. I'd rather have something that's based off of a real person. My thesis statement was both texts use implications, hallucinations, and symbolism to express and show the insanity that the characters bring upon and show beyond their feelings and the madness being driven from the thought of love. Um, I chose this to set out how both, I wanted to set out to show how both texts explain the two women who have gone mad because of love. Um, the evidence to my thesis, you can read here. I give more detailed explanation, but it's mainly the poem. In the poem, the woman had her husband's died, and she thinks she sees him, which brings the hallucinations, and she still hears him, and she still feels like he's there, and that's where she's become trapped and gone mad because of that, because like the hallucination stuff is a form of like a symptom of madness, because and she's trapped in the love of him, and she still hears him and sees him even though he's not really there. In the story, the main character, she finds out that in the beginning she finds out her husband's passed away in some freak accident, and something comes over and she becomes happy, not because he's gone, but to the fact that she can do what she wants to do and she doesn't have to um, like tend to her husband all the time, and she can do what she wants to do. And that and in here I just said what I found in the text, and and that's the way she was trapped. And then when she does find out their husband isn't dead, she dies from a heart attack. And in the story, they relate to it as she died from love, from a heartache of love. And that's just where I went about and how I went about doing my research essay. And for my visual, I just used the PowerPoint to express what each thing, how I used each thing, and what I chose.